Have you ever wondered why Africa, a continent bursting with natural resources, is often labeled as the world's poorest? It's a question that has puzzled many, and the answer is far more complex than it seems. Let's peel back the layers of this story, because it's not a simple tale of lack, but a long, intricate history of extraction. Imagine a beautiful, thriving garden, filled with the richest soil, rarest flowers, and most valuable minerals. For centuries, this garden, let's call it the Garden of Eden, was self-sufficient. Its communities were diverse, with intricate systems of trade, governance, and culture. They weren't rich in the way we think of today, with skyscrapers and stock markets, but they were wealthy in land, community, and resources. They had their own economies, their own innovations, and their own pathways to prosperity. Then, starting around the 15th century, visitors came from far away. At first, they came to trade. They were amazed by the garden's wealth, the gold, the diamonds, the spices. But soon, trade turned into something much darker. The visitors decided they didn't just want to trade for the garden's treasures. They wanted to own the garden itself. This was the beginning of the colonial era. For hundreds of years, powerful European nations carved up the continent, drawing lines on a map that paid no attention to the people who lived there. They weren't creating nations. They were creating resource extraction zones. The primary goal wasn't to develop the garden, but to pluck its fruits and ship them back home. Think about it this way. Instead of building roads to connect local villages and markets within the garden, the colonizers built railways that led from a mine straight to a port. The entire infrastructure was designed for one purpose: to get resources out of Africa as efficiently as possible. Local industries that competed with the colonizers' home industries were often suppressed. The focus was on exporting raw materials, like cocoa beans or copper ore, not on building factories to process them locally. This meant the most profitable part of the business, turning raw materials into finished goods, happened elsewhere. This system also had a devastating human cost. Millions of people were enslaved and forcibly taken from their homes, robbing the continent of its most valuable resource, its people. The very fabric of societies was torn apart. Families, communities, and entire kingdoms were shattered, a wound that would take centuries to even begin healing. Then, in the mid-20th century, a wave of independence swept across Africa. The visitors finally left, and the people of the garden were in charge again. It was a time of immense hope and celebration. But the freedom they won was complicated. They inherited nations with borders drawn by outsiders, forcing diverse ethnic groups, who sometimes had histories of conflict, to live together under one flag. This created immense internal political instability right from the start. They also inherited economies that were still wired for extraction. They had the mines and the farms, but not the factories. They were still dependent on selling their raw materials to the very same countries that had colonized them, often at prices they couldn't control. When the global price of copper or coffee dropped, their entire economies would suffer. It was like owning a fantastic apple orchard, but having no way to bake pies, make cider, or even set the price for your own apples. This economic dependency created a cycle of debt. To build the schools, hospitals, and infrastructure their people desperately needed, many new African nations had to take out huge loans from international institutions and foreign governments. But the interest rates were high, and the economic structures they were stuck with made it nearly impossible to pay off the principal. This is what's often called neo-colonialism, a new, more subtle form of economic control, where financial systems and international trade rules keep the old power dynamics in place. And let's not forget the political meddling. During the Cold War, the USA and the Soviet Union saw Africa as a chessboard. They propped up dictators and funded proxy wars to support their own global interests, fueling decades of conflict and instability across the continent. Leaders who tried to break the cycle and build truly independent, self-sufficient nations were often overthrown in coups backed by foreign powers. So, when we look at Africa today, we can't just see a snapshot in time. We have to see the long shadow of history. The poverty we see is not a natural state. It's the result of a system built over centuries, designed to enrich others. But this is not where the story ends. Far from it. Because the most important part of this story is the one being written right now. All across the continent, there's an explosion of innovation, entrepreneurship, and creativity. From the tech hubs in Nairobi and Lagos, known as Silicon Savannah, to the booming film industry of Nollywood, Africans are building their own futures on their own terms. They are creating solutions for their own problems. Mobile banking services like M-Pesa started in Kenya because traditional banking wasn't accessible. And now, it's a model for the world. Young entrepreneurs are using technology to revolutionize everything from agriculture to healthcare. Artists, musicians, and writers are telling their own stories, challenging the old narratives and showing the world the vibrant, diverse, and dynamic reality of modern Africa. The continent is still rich in resources, but its greatest resource has always been its people, their resilience, their ingenuity, and their unbreakable spirit. The story of Africa is not just a story of what was taken. It's a story of what is being built. It's a story of reclaiming the garden, planting new seeds, and finally, cultivating it for the benefit of its own people. So, is Africa poor? Or is it a continent that was systematically impoverished, now on a powerful journey of economic and cultural rebirth? The narrative is shifting, and it's one of the most exciting stories of the 21st century. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this perspective valuable, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might be interested. It helps more than you know. See you in the next one.